Welcome to DIY with Di. My name is Diane, and today's video is a little different. I have some more fall decor makeover and a recreation. I went to Marshall's a few weeks ago, saw a couple items. I figured I can do this for a cheaper cost. I have some neutrals. Shout out to my mom, her favorite colors, but I still have my purples and grays in my recreation. I hope you stick around to the end. Don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, hit the notification bell, and let's let the fun begin.
First, I start out by painting all of these pumpkins white to give it like a fresh, clean slate. All three pumpkins are from Dollar Tree, some from a few years ago that I've already painted over. So right now, I'm just giving them a fresh look. I chose to use Waverly chalk paint in white because it's simple, one coat does the job to give it a nice base coat. This pumpkin I actually got last year, painted it, didn't even know what I wanted to do with it, so I never even finished the project. So I decided to use it for my recreation. Here's the pumpkin I will be recreating from Marshall's. I start out by painting it Apple Barrel Lavender Sachet. I wanted to do a lighter purple. Then I've grabbed a couple colored beads that I will be putting on the outside edges. First, I start with the Mod Podge. I'm placing a nice thick layer of Mod Podge for the beads to adhere to. Here are the beads that I used: clear, violet, and black rainbow. I got them from Hobby Lobby. $3.99 each tube, half off, so they were only $1.99. And now's the fun. We just pour the beads, alternating colors, all over the Mod Podge. I just kept pouring the beads until it was the consistency I wanted. See, nice and full. Then I decided to spray an adhesive over top to make sure that the beads did not come out at all. I decided to try another pumpkin, one that was more shaped like the actual inspiration. I'm just using a little bit of these Dollar Tree spackling to fill the holes. I start off with the base of the Waverly white chalk paint. Now I'm using Apple Barrel's Velvet Orchid to paint the stem of the first pumpkin. Then I decide to mix in Waverly chalk paint in white to give it not such a dark color, but I wanted this pumpkin a little bit of a different shade. I just begin to paint the whole pumpkin all over. I decided to use the lavender sachet color to paint the stem. Now I'm using a pencil to start creating the ridges in the pumpkin. I'm going to be using puffy paint in the color Black Glitter to give it a raised edge to make it easier for the beads to stay in place. Seeing as the first pumpkin actually had raised up pieces of wood on them, I'm trying to recreate this myself on this pumpkin. I just continue outlining all of the lines that I created. This also gives it some dimension. While the puffy paint is drying, I find 2 leaves from another project and decide to paint them purple. Now I'm filling in some of the ridges with the Mod Podge so that I can start placing down the beads. Once again, I decide to start alternating the beads, going back and forth between the velvet and the black rainbow. I decided on this one not to use the clear beads. I wasn't exactly 100% happy with how it turned out on the first one, so this one I decided just to keep it the 2 shades, and that way it would also come out a little darker and a little different. Since this one is a little wider and I was able to create more ridges, I'm actually able to do more like the inspiration and do the outside ridges in the middle. And once again, I just keep filling with beads, alternating colors until it's as full as I like. Now time to add the leaves, and I decided to use a button just to give it something a little extra. Placing the leaf and button on pumpkin number 2. Now I'm sanding down a couple pieces of wood that I'm going to be painting. That way I have a stand for my pumpkins. I want these to be able to stand up as I go to display them. I decided to paint them gray. That way they were a different color than the pumpkins. Now that it's all dry, it's time to put it together. I go back and forth between using some of the Dollar Tree Jenga blocks and the Dollar Tree wooden cubes that they have in the crafting area. Using the Super Glue brand of wood glue and a hot glue gun. making sure that they are all secure and it stands upright. The mixture of the two glues will definitely make sure that the pieces don't go anywhere. The wood glue will make it last long, and the super glue is making it so that I can display them right away. Now here's a look at the inspiration and my recreation. Tell me what you think. And here's how I decided to display them. Let me know what you think in the comments below. On to project number 2. I'm using these laser cut paper leaves from the crafting section in Dollar Tree. Just trying to decide placement on the pumpkin, bending it lightly. Now I'm lightly bending them here and there to get them a little bit more moldable, using a little hot glue, placing it on the pumpkin, holding it down until I know it's nice and secure. You want to make sure all the edges are down as best as can be. Now it's time for the bigger pumpkin. Since this pumpkin is a little bigger and the ridges are fuller, I don't have to bend them as much. They kind of adhere and mold to it a little bit easier. Just hot gluing and placing them all on the pumpkin. And like I said, just make sure as many of the edges are down as best as possible because we're going to be painting over them. Now I'm just using puffy paint in white, doing a few dots here and there to give it some design, something a little extra. I do the same on the bigger pumpkin. Once the puffy paint is dry, I use apple barrel toasted marshmallow. I mix in baking soda. This is going to give it a really cool texture. It's going to look like a cement pumpkin, no longer a foam pumpkin. I've seen this technique all on social media, and I really like how it turns out. You want to make sure that you get your paint all in the nooks and crannies of those leaves. And then I just paint over the whole pumpkin. I do the same process for the bigger pumpkin. And this is why you want to make sure that all the edges get down as best as possible. That way, when you go to paint over those leaves, you don't wind up seeing any of the white underneath. It makes it look like it's all one piece. For the second coat, I added some of the Waverly chalk paint in white. I wanted it to have a little bit more of a creaminess to the color. Originally, it wound up being a little bit more on the yellowy brown side, and I really wasn't happy with it. I just put a second coat all over both pumpkins. You can see the difference in the color as I'm painting the smaller pumpkin, whereas the bigger pumpkin still has just the first coat on it. I did lose a little bit of footage where I put a third coat of paint on each of the pumpkins and I painted the stems a lighter brown color. Now it's time to hot glue the stems back onto the pumpkins. I really like how the two colors match perfectly together. I feel like they have a nice cream color look to them. Now I place the stem back on the large pumpkin. For those of you that have stayed around to the end, I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified of future uploaded videos. And here is how I decided to decorate them. I hope you enjoyed.